Today, we're going to deconstruct one of Franz Kafka's most haunting short stories, First Sorrow. It's a really short but incredibly powerful story about a life built on a single perfect idea and what happens when the very first crack starts to show.
Just imagine for a second that your entire life, your whole existence, was dedicated to perfecting one single thing. You pour everything you have into it until your art and your life are basically the same. Well, for the guy in this story, that's not a metaphor. It's his literal reality. He's a trapeze artist who has decided to live his entire life, day and night, up in the air. So let's dive in. We first meet this artist way up in the domes of these giant theaters, living in a world that he basically built for himself.
And you've got to wonder, why? Why do this? And what's so fascinating is that it didn't start out as some weird quirk. Nope, it started from a professional desire to be the absolute best. But over time, that desire, that choice, it just became a habit he couldn't break. I mean, his life is a total paradox. On one hand, it's perfectly organized. Attendants on the ground send up everything he needs. And Kafka even says the life is healthful and even beautiful, especially with the sun pouring in through those high windows. But on the other hand, it's a life of extreme isolation. The only people he ever talks to are like a random workman who's fixing something. He's in such a state of pure focus, he usually has no idea there are even people down below watching him.
But here's the catch. Even in this perfectly controlled little world, there is one thing he can't avoid. One thing that causes him just immense pain. And that's travel. And listen to Kafka's words here. He doesn't say it's just inconvenient or annoying. He says it was extremely trying. For this artist, this one break in his routine is a source of genuine psychological torment.
And this contrast, it's really the whole key to his life. Being up in the air, that's beautiful, it's purposeful, but anytime he's forced to be on the ground, it's wretched. It's just this miserable waiting game. For him, the ground isn't freedom, it's a cage.
So his manager goes to these absolutely extraordinary lengths to make it less awful for him. They use racing cars to fly through the streets at night. They book out entire train compartments just for him. And, get this, the artist spends the whole train ride living on the luggage rack. It's the closest thing he can get to being up high. The entire operation is designed to get him off one trapeze and onto the next one as fast as humanly possible.
Okay, and it's during one of these miserable journeys that the artist's perfectly balanced world finally starts to crack. So picture the scene. It's quiet. The artist is up on the luggage rack, his little temporary home. The manager is just sitting there reading a book. And then the artist just quietly breaks the silence. And he makes what sounds like a totally normal request for a performer. He says from now on, he wants to have 2 trapezes in his act, not just one. You know, you hear that and you think, okay, he's just trying to spice up the show. And the manager thinks it's a great idea. He's like, yeah, of course, more variety. He agrees right away. But he has completely misunderstood what's happening. This isn't about the performance at all. This is coming from a place of real, deep fear. And then the truth just comes pouring out. The artist starts crying, just sobbing, and he blurts out the real reason. Only the one bar in my hands, how can I go on living? The thought of having just one bar, just one single point of support, has suddenly become this massive, existential terror. So this outburst, it's obviously not just about a piece of equipment. This is the artist's first real confrontation with a kind of anxiety he's never felt before. So let's unpack this. What is this sorrow, this sudden panic attack, really about? That second trapeze is nothing less than a defense mechanism. It's a shield against the horrifying new idea that his entire existence, his whole life, is hanging from a single point of failure. It's like he suddenly needs a backup plan, a safety net, not for his body, but for his very soul. For the first time ever, he's being forced to see how fragile his perfect world is. And that realization, that's the first sorrow. It's the horror that his perfection might not be enough. And this brings us right to the story's really chilling final moments, which we see through the eyes of the manager, who is starting to get really worried himself. Now, on the surface, everything gets resolved. The manager promises him the second trapeze, no problem, and the artist finally calms down. But the manager, he's not calm at all. He's deeply unsettled, because he knows something fundamental has just shifted.
And as the artist starts to doze off, the manager looks at him and sees something he's never seen before. The first furrows of care engraving themselves upon the trapeze artist's smooth, childlike forehead. That innocence, that perfect, untroubled mind, it's gone. A new, awful awareness has taken its place. And this is the haunting question Kafka leaves us with. The manager sits there, terrified, wondering if this is just a mood or if it's the start of something permanent. It's about that loss of a perfect, unthinking state of being. And the question for all of us is once you lose that, once that anxiety gets in, can you ever truly get it back?